Hello, hello, hello. I am your host, Mike Ramone, and we are on the Real Man Talk Show. And tonight, boy, oh boy, do I have a special guest, Kalenna from Dirty Money. How are you doing this evening?
I'm very, very well, thank you. How you guys doing?
I'm doing
Good.
excellent. And
Awesome.
I just wanted to start off by saying thank you very much for blessing the Real Man Talk Show with your presence this evening. Thank you.
Listen, I want to say I'm loving the energy already. So I was sitting here listening to you guys get prepped, and it was pretty awesome already. So you got it anytime.
On my shows, I talk a lot about the family structure, being raised with mom and dad in the household. And I was going to ask you, how did that help you, as far as having mom and dad in your household to be able to, help you to achieve your goals?
Well, I always say that you never understand how important it is until you are a parent yourself or until you get old enough to really understand, like, hold up, having a mom and dad was awesome because, I had the perfect balance. I had the balance of I knew what protection was. I knew what a man, what to expect from a man and what a man expected from a woman. Not just business, but, the whole scheme of things. And so it was just a blessing to have, a mom and dad there and, five other brothers and sisters that kind of supported my whole, movement. Because, first of all, when you're dreaming and you have to pull people into your dream and have them understand, what you're seeing in your head, it's already hard, but for them to just believe, 85% of what I was talking about was real. It just was a blessing. And so, looking back now as an adult and as a parent, it's like, wow, you know how important it is to have dad to go and talk to about money issues and business and being stern and being shrewd as a business person if you have to, and, standing for what you believe in. And then you have mom, that says, you got to keep it real. You always have to, keep 2 feet on the ground and speak up for yourself and pray. And it was just, you need all of those gentle touches to become a whole picture, a whole person. It takes a tribe to raise children, and I think that is very important. Not saying that kids in broken homes can't go out to be successful because, Diddy is a prime example, but he also had, his mom, his grandmother, and his uncles and different people like that. So it takes a family structure, period, not just the mom and dad, but mom and dad are very vital to a kid's success and growth, of course.
Absolutely. And I didn't know that. Now I know that was one of the questions that, one of my friends was asking, man, I just have one question. My one question is, ask her, what was it like to work with Puff Daddy? I just would like to see what, hear firsthand experience what it would be like to work with him.
I'm going to tell you something. This is so strange. I always dreamed about Puff. I always dreamed about him. I would read articles about him, and I was so intrigued at what he could do. It was like, it was Michael Jackson, it was a little bit of Whitney Houston and Puff, for me growing up. Probably because my father was into producing and being a rapper himself, into music. So it was he just was very intriguing as a businessman. And so in my 12th grade year, I remember my art teacher, she says, well, we want you to draw a portrait because I can really draw really good and paint and, just express myself. I'm just an artistic person. Yeah. And so I ended up doing Puff. I ended up drawing Puff. And, I did this huge mural, which my mom still has today. And, I just dreamed about this man so long and about, his success and how business-minded he was and how smart he was that I ended up in a group with him. And I just always say, like, wow, I dreamt this into existence. And I remember, like, maybe a year in to working with him and seeing his genius in the studio and being so compatible because I'm really crazy in the studio. I'm like a really awkward, creative person. And so he's the same way. And it's like, it's almost like being naked in a room full of people when I'm creating in the studio. And so it was just like let's get naked together then. You know what I mean? Like, not literally, but that's what it felt like. And it was like, you know, he could express his white and his blues, and I can express my green and blues, and they made sense to each other, not all the time, but 95% of the time, which was great to be able to come up with Last Year in Paris. And like I said, a year into us working, my mom says, well, you know, I have this picture that you drew of Puff. And she takes a picture of it and she gives it to him, and he's like basically almost crying because he believes in the power of persuading, you know, the universe to do the things that you really, really love to do in your heart and you want to do, and bringing them to you. So it was like, that was genius.
No wonder why you a star. And when the way you tap in to your melanin, when you get into the zone of those frequencies, of the vibration of the music, I mean, you up there. I don't care what anybody says. Like when I sat there and I was analyzing it, that's what I mean. You do everything well. You do pop great. You do dance. You do R&B. You do rap. I mean, there is no genre that you cannot do because of the way you tap into music.
I'm going to tell you something that's even weirder. We were supposed to go on tour with Michael for the last tour that he was about to do. And I remember Vic, my husband, going to Puff and saying, well, what do you guys think about opening up for Michael Jackson? He's like, well, get it done. You know what I'm saying? If you could do it, do it. And so, you go and talk to the promoters and everything, and they're like, oh, yeah, of course. Like, you know, Michael definitely would love to do that. And at the time, me and Rodney Jerkins, we were really close friends, and he started working on The Last Train in Paris with me. But before, you know, we were just getting into this Michael Jackson vibe, and I was meeting his family slowly but surely, and me and his nephew Austin are really close, and, you know, it just was getting bigger and bigger. And so we get the call that Michael Jackson passes away, but we also, the week before, he says, well, the only reason I would do it is because of the new girl in the group. The new girl that doesn't nobody know. I love her. That's the only reason I do it. You know, I let them come on my tour because I love her. And it's so weird because from the time I could remember, Michael Jackson was the focal point of music for me, period. Like, I can't even really think of anybody else unless, you know, besides me getting older, like Jimi Hendrix and Tina Turner and Marvin Gaye and Al Green and, you know, like Curtis Blow and Missy Elliott. I mean, like, the list goes on. But, then it was like, you know, all of the rock stuff I was listening to. Marilyn Manson is one of my favorites. So it was crazy. But Michael Jackson has been, like, the center of even all of that for me, you know. And so it's like when I get in the studio, I go into this trance, and it's like nothing else matters but this music and me being able to listen to what is speaking to me. And someone comes to me one day and they say, well, you know, you remind me of Michael when it's in the studio.
Yes.
And I said, well, how is that? Because now I'm baffled. You know, I'm just like, I'm kind of freaked out because, you know, all of these weird things happen in music when you're creating, and you're creating from your soul and your heart, and you're really not doing it because of the fame, and you're not doing it because you want people to like you. You're doing it because you have no other choice. This is all you can do. This is all I ever see myself doing aside from maybe delivering puppies. You know what I mean? And so I'm serious. And so I'm sitting there like, you know, what does that, you know, what you're telling me entail? And they were like, yo, like, like the way, like the same thing you're saying to me, like the way you get into your music, the way you don't care that somebody's watching you because you're vibing out and you're zoning out and you're just letting it do what it do. Like, you know, like this is your stage. This is your world when you're here. And they were like, showed me some video of Michael, like, recording, and I swear I felt like I should have been on my knees. And then I seen Beyonce do it. And then, of course, working with Puff, I seen Puff do it. And then it was like, wow, maybe, you know, one day I'll be one of the greats, and people will talk about how great I am.